Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the New Generation Sobriety podcast. Today we're joined by Jordan. I'll put his tag right above my head here. You want to introduce yourself for those that don't know you?
My name's Jordan. I'm born and raised right here in Los Angeles, California. I'm 35 years old, and I am sober. Thank the Lord.
I saw Jordan's reels on Instagram, and that's kind of what inspired me to get connected with him. I just saw the way he was really in touch with the word. I saw that you were just some of the content that you're posting, your view on some of the stuff that's happening, and looking back on, you were talking about some of this when you were in your addiction, and I was inspired, the way that you were speaking about it, and use it, you were referring to the word a lot, and that was it really inspired me. I don't know, I was just really curious to hear about your, what brought you to the Lord. I know you say you're sober, so I know you don't just wake up and say, I don't want to use drugs and alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
Something had to have happened. And we also, we don't just wake up and say, I want to be addicted to drugs and alcohol. There's more to it. We don't just wake up alcoholic addict, I kind of was just inspired and interested to hear your testimony. And one question I usually open with is, what was life like for you growing up, before the drugs and alcohol?
So growing up, there was a lot of riffraff, growing up in the city, growing up in Los Angeles.
You were born and raised here?
Born and raised in Northeast Los Angeles. It's the Highland Park, Eagle Rock area. It was just me, my brother, and my mom, a single parent. She did everything in her power to make sure that I was not outside on the streets, because she wanted to keep me from that, because she understood that, there's nothing good that happens out there. And from a young age, she always put me in sports. So from 3 years old, I started playing baseball.
I can relate with that from a very young age. I'm pretty sure I could skate better than I could walk at one point. I remember being put in sports very young. Like I said, we were talking off camera, like I said, I always had that. I was always a part of something until when I got sober. I kind of had to give those things up, and then I had to kind of search for who I truly was. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is very key to kind of why I went down that road of alcoholism and drugs, is because I needed community. When I started smoking weed at about 16, 17, and then I just kind of became in this victim mentality. My whole mindset kind of switched, and everything was woe is me.
And do you remember your first puff of
my first puff? Yeah. It was, we called it Dan's van, bro. We were in a van, and it was a great time. That first high was a great time. And the homies, they made us play Mario Kart in our minds. So we put our head down in our lap, and someone narrated Mario Kart, put us in a cart, banana peels coming, and for that high, I really thought I was in Mario Kart.
And someone was actually driving?
No, not at all. We were just stoned out of our mind with our head down in our lap, and so close your eyes and just envision yourself in Mario Kart. So that was that, and I remember that, and it was a great time. My first drink though came when I was.
Weed was first?
Alcohol was first.
Oh, alcohol was
alcohol
first.
was first when I was maybe. You grew up in a Mexican family, man. I think I was maybe 9 or 10 when I had my first sip of beer.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to go back a little bit. Do
Yeah.
you want to kind of touch on your was home life okay?
Yeah.
Everything was all good there? Did you I forget if you mentioned you had siblings or?
Yeah, I had one older brother.
Okay.
It was good, man. Like I said, there was a lot of riffraff, a lot of BS that goes around. You hear gunshots, you have gang violence, you have home invasions, ghetto birds, all that stuff.
Yeah, in the small town that I'm from, we don't see that. So that's another reason I kind of wanted to have you on and hear your story, because the way that addiction and everything is it's all the same to a point, but location does play a factor. You know what I mean? If you're in a small town versus a big city, it's gonna be a little different, right? I can't say I really heard gunshots growing up. I didn't and home invasions, maybe I saw it on the local news, but I never really seen much of that. So, but you're from a big city, so it's you're gonna see that kind of stuff.
Unfortunately it's normal.
Yeah.
It's even if you don't join that gang life, it's still always it's around you.
It's
your
in the
cousins,
back of
your homies, your neighborhood. When I was 3 years old, one of my first core memories was our house got robbed by this one guy, and I remember we pulled up to the driveway and me coming out and just him fleeing the house. So just at a young age, I just kind of understood you can't trust anybody.
And do you remember how that made you feel? Were you angry?
I was just in shock. I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't even know how to process it. And then that was when I was my parents were still together. Then they split shortly after that. And then we were forced to live in a basement in one of my friend's basement. It was just me, my brother, and my mom. I was about 3 or 4 years old, and we were waiting for an apartment to open up in Highland Park, where I really kind of spent the majority of my younger years. But just then, just struggling, seeing that, it was just a basement, man, with a bathroom, and we just kind of made it work. Then we finally got to our apartment, and that's when you kind of see all the BS. Like, my mom wouldn't let me take out the trash, and if she knew I was outside for more than 10 minutes, she would come looking for me because she didn't want me with the neighborhood kids. And she would tell them all the time to leave my son alone. My mom was crazy, but it was that love.
Yeah, tough love, right?
It was. But that's why she kept me in sports. You're good. That's why she kept me in sports. I was always playing either basketball, baseball, or football, and I was good at it, and I loved it. It was really, really good.
And you talked about that sense of community, and like that really made me think. Like, now that I'm sober, like I often say this, like that's the thing that keeps me sober is like connection, right? Like, connection is the opposite of addiction, and like now that I think about it, growing up, like before I struggled with the alcohol and drugs, I always had that connection, right? To a degree, like. I always felt a little disconnected, but it was hockey, lacrosse, like school. I was always hanging out with friends all the time. Like I was always surrounded, right? And like you said, that played a big part in it. I think that's why I went down that path that I did.
Yeah, because once you lose that, you kind of have too much time on your hands, right? And then you allow your mind to kind of overtake, and then you just think, what am I going to do?
Yeah, for sure.
And then community is everything, especially because for me personally, my father wasn't in the house growing up. So I gravitated towards my homies that I played sports with. I gravitated towards their fathers. I gravitated towards going to their house or coaches. And so I always had at least a goal to go after, as far as I got to do my homework because I got to play sports. I got to do this so I could go to practice. I want to look forward to that male role model telling me, being that kind of just like that support system or whatever, because I needed direction. Me going on my own, clearly it's not good.
But yeah, like you mentioned, so you were kind of saying it was just you, your mom, and your brother?
And my brother, yeah, just us three.
And what did that kind of look like? And this was around like 5?
This was, about 3 years old. My parents split, so then from 4 on until my mid 20s. Lower 20s. And
did you really have at this point, did you have like a opinion on like were drugs and alcohol around you and did you see it at that age and you understood it, or like?
I knew at a young age, I don't know exactly, but there was a neighbor and she was a meth head, and she would always have a bunch of people coming in and out of the apartment. There were cop raids. Vividly remember a couple of times the German Shepherds would raid our apartment complex, and then we'd wake up to my mom telling them to back away from the screen door, leave us alone, like my babies are sleeping. So just kind of always having that, and then going to the laundromat, which was in the community, and seeing people shoot up or do drugs in our little laundromat in our apartment complex. That didn't process. I just thought, okay, these are just homeless people, not understanding that these are sick people and that this is what they're doing. And so at a young age, I was exposed to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like me too. Like I didn't, like you said, like I was exposed to it, but I didn't quite understand it. I just thought, like these are homeless people or these are like drug addicts. Like every homeless person I saw, I thought must have been a drug addict. Right? Like that was the way I saw it because I didn't understand it. I was exposed at a young age, and I guess I wasn't like we don't get educated on it in school. They don't really teach us about it, which I think they should. There should be, like at least like when I don't know how it is in the States, but back then where I'm from, they do like around like grade 3, they do like a little program on drugs and stuff, and
I think we like Dare.
Kind of.
Did you guys have Dare?
It's called like I forget, VIP or so. I forget. Anyway, like I feel like they should do something like that with addiction as well, because like I said, growing up, like I thought in order to be a drug addict, you had to be living under the bridge, or you had to be homeless, or the other way around too. Like if you were homeless, you were a drug addict. Like that's what I thought.
No, I feel you, right? People think you're untouchable.
Yeah.
Right? You think that the homelessness happens first.
Yeah.
And then the drug addiction comes.
No.
But a lot of times, right, it's the drug addiction that comes first.
Which takes everything from you, right?
And then that's how you end up in the streets.
Yeah.
Because it's a little backwards. I mean, maybe I'm going off topic, but I feel like a lot of wishy-washy, surface level kind of teaching and accountability happens in society. People don't want to talk about the dark things. People don't want to talk about what it really is. Sing kumbaya and just say that if you do this, then, you know, things could happen and bad things could happen. And they really, they try to, what's the word I'm looking for? They sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
And that's just not the harsh. For me personally, I didn't need no one sugarcoating.
No.
I needed people to tell me you're messing up. I need me to look at me in that, Jordan, you're wasting your life.
Yeah, for sure. And like, so you're like at this point you're exposed to it and like you're seeing it around you just in, like you said, the laundromat. But like no family really struggled with it growing up or like.
Yeah, my aunt, she's been in and out. My uncle, he's paralyzed from the whole left side brain dead because he was basically driving under the influence of a motorcycle on the 110. Been in a hospital or in a wheelchair since he was like 17 before I was even born. My aunt, she's on the street still in a tiny home right there in Highland Park. So yeah, it's in my family. It's all around.
So you're exposed to it and like do you remember what age it first kind of came into your life? Like you said, we kind of touched a little bit on your first drink and your first puff, but like, do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Let's see. When it kicked in, my mom always told me when I was maybe senior year of high school, that's when I started partying. And she told me, Jordan, alcoholism runs in our family. Jordan, you are subject to becoming an alcoholic. If not, you already are. And I would just kind of put it away, right?
And like this is before you're getting into trouble and
this was when it was still fun.
Yeah.
This is when partying was still fun. This is when you didn't think there were any kind of repercussions of your actions.
You could just live how you want to live, right?
And someone's gonna bail you out.
Yeah. And did you I know you said we talked off air and you said you went to a Christian school, but like, did you really seek a relationship with God at this point or?
Hell no. Not at all. I knew Jesus loved me. I knew there was a God and that I knew I accepted him. But I don't really think me personally, I didn't know what that meant.
At that point in your life, like with all those things being said, like Jesus loves me, like he accepts me and like I accept him. Did you think that you were like saved? Like you thought?
Yes, in that moment I did think I was saved.
'Cause I can relate with that, man. Like like for a long time in my life, I thought, you know, like I believe in Jesus. I've never killed anybody and I have good intentions. Like I'm going to go to heaven.
Yeah, but looking back, right, I think I took it for granted. Yeah. I don't know if you did.
No,
because I was just like, oh, you know what? I could go willfully sin.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And I could go get high and tomorrow I'm going to repent and then I'm good. I'm in good graces. And then looking back, that's not how it works.
No, not at all.
Right? Repentance is actually turning away from sin.
Exactly.
Right? You got to, if you could sin and just sleep at night, then are you really saved? And that's where I'm finally at the point now. I feel guilty for doing certain things. And that's just kind of my growth, right? And seeking my own relationship. Because I think when you're a kid, when you go to school, in private school, it's very religious, it's very legalistic. It's do this or you don't get that. But they don't really teach you how and why.
So was your high school Christian school as well?
High school, I went to public school.
Okay.
Yeah. I told my mom. It was going into 10th grade. I got into a private school, but I was like, I'm not doing this. No, I want to go to E-Rock. I want to go to public school. I can't do private school again. And luckily, she listened and she let me. She's still anti that. She's like, Jordan, if you would have, I was like, Mom, if you would have sent me to private school, I would have done the same thing there. Yeah. But guess what? You didn't work at the school, so I would have probably done even worse. Rich kids.
Your mom was working at the school?
Yeah, she was.
So now when you switched from private school to public school, was there like a drugs and alcohol were already involved or?
No, it was culture shock.
Okay.
It was a culture shock because like I said, you hear it around you, right, in the neighborhood, but then when it's actually at school during school hours and you see it's like, whoa, because 6th to 8th grade I went to a private school, small, very, very small private Christian school. Yeah. I wasn't accustomed to anything, right? I didn't see anything. And then when I went to public school, that's when like I saw weed, you saw kids drinking at school. And then I was like, wow, this is crazy. I wasn't prepared for it.
And was Was it a problem for you yet? Like, because you said you had already had your first drink.
I did, but I was just like a kid. Like my dad just said, try it when
Wait,
he
so
was
you weren't
drunk.
like partying or anything yet?
No, 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 no. Not until the summer. I had my first toke junior year, towards the end of my junior year of high school. But the summer before senior year, that's when I started partying, and that's I still to this day. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably the most fun I've ever had as a summer. It was my first summer drink. I had a great time. I'm not. That's I stand on that.
And like, was there any bad experiences that you kind of look back on now and are like, you know what, maybe, that was a sign that I just kind of looked past?
Not too much, no. Not. Yeah, yeah. I did wreck a car. I hit a parked car. I was driving drunk.
So there's your first sign.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
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 So for me, like, I look back at my first, like you said, my first sip of alcohol was not a problem, but the first time that I like went to a party and was like, yeah, it was a problem. I didn't think it was. I thought, like this is just what happens the first time you drink, right? Like, but no, like I was balls to the wall from like day one, man, and it was like couldn't get enough in me from day one.
Right. There's no turn off, right? And who wants to? Right.
If one makes me feel good, like a thousand's gonna make me feel. Imagine, right?
100%.
And
I look at people that have one. Like I still go to dinner to this day, and
why are
people
you
that have one or
having
two.
that?
Like, what is the point of that?
You're wasting your money.
Right? Or like finish it.
Yeah.
Like why isn't no one taking shots? I will buy you guys your shots.
Yeah.
Like you guys are normal people. Please do it for me.
Somebody's got to drink it in my favor, like in my honor.
Percent.
Yeah. Sorry, we got a little bit off topic. So, tell me a little bit about your high school experience. Like,
High school was fun. High school was easy. Like that was I was a very personable person. I was very involved. I was in leadership. I was in SCO. I was in honor classes. I was in sports. Like I said, I was very involved, and it was a great time. Until my senior year of baseball, that was the final sport that I played, and then I quit. I quit baseball just because I didn't like my coach. But again, I think that's also stemming from not having a man in the home and not telling me you signed up for this and finish it. I didn't respect my coach. And I played the whole victim card and I made it about me. And like I said, instead of being told, yo, what the hell? I just quit like a loser, like a quitter. And that was the start of not finishing things. And once that happened, I just did some things and I would become the world's worst drug dealer because I got high on my own supply. And I would just kind of sell drugs so I could get high and just party. And it was stealing liquor. And it was just honestly all downhill from there.
was it, and what age did this start at?
This was 17, 17 and 18.
Was it just like, was there something that happened that kind of sparked that for you? Was it with the sports incident you said?
So if we were gonna get into it, I was like, damn, am I gonna talk about this? But there was something that happened to me as a kid. I don't want to get into it.
You don't have to share if you don't want to.
But there was something that happened to me as a kid, and it was very traumatic. And then when it would kind of brushed under the rug because I didn't process anything until about 16, 17 was when I processed everything. And I was like, wow, that's not supposed to happen to anybody. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. And then that's when all these emotions, right? When you're trying to turn into a young man and navigate this life and you think you know it all, but you don't. That's when everything kind of switched and I kind of started feeling sorry for myself. And I started to feel a lot of resentment and pain. And I let my inner demons really run my life. And the only way I could let go and not forget about that pain was if I got drunk and high, and if I kicked it with the homies, and if I slept with women, and if I did everything but face it.
Yeah, you're right. And that's exactly what, like, the devil wants us to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I forget, it says somewhere in the Bible, the devil has no power, but he has tricks. Those are the tricks that, like, sleeping with women, the drugs, the alcohol, the kicking it with the homies, like, those were all things that, like, were making you feel
whole.
Exactly. They're filling that void temporarily for you, right? And so 16, 17 is like when you finally processed and like it switched and did things just go straight downhill?
As far as my party lifestyle, it did. It started to go straight downhill, but I was really good at juggling. I don't know how.
You were managing it, right?
I was, yeah, and I felt addicted to the chaos, and I needed it. It was like an adrenaline rush. Like, how much can I teeter totter this lifestyle and just kind of keep going until it fully falls apart?
Yeah. And at what point did it finally like fall apart?
I got my DUI when I was 21. I was in my brother's car. I was promoting for a club in West Hollywood right here, and we got a couple dollars for each head that came in that said my name. But most importantly, we got free bottle service, and it was a fun time, you know. And then my homie, he had Xanax, and I took a Xanax, and I didn't even drink a lot, but I mix alcohol and Xanax. Everything is kind of on a lag. And so I was driving at a stoplight, someone stopped, and I was talking to the homie behind me, and I hit a car. I tried to peel off, but I went over the curb, messed up the axle, and the wheel turned inward, so I couldn't go. They found me. They caught me. I only blew a .08, so it was really the Xanax that messed me up.
Yeah.
But that's when it started. That's when I was like, okay. I know my mom's probably like, yep, here he goes. This is it. But in my mind, I was like, dude, 21, I'm partying. It's fine. It's normal. Who cares?
It's a phase, right? Like, it's everybody's around me's doing it. Like
100%.
And that's what I thought, man. Like, I'm like sitting there at 16, like when all these things were starting to happen, and I'm like, everybody around me's doing it. Like, I'm just doing what every other teenager's doing.
Yeah.
But then I had to really like take a look at my life and be like, that's not true, Logan. Like, you're not doing what other 17-year-olds are doing. Like,
correct.
Nobody's doing this.
Yeah, for real. And I think actually before that though, I think I was 19 and I went to CSUN right out of high school. I lasted a semester there, but I got arrested for stealing liquor. And then I went to jail overnight. So that was, another time, right? When I was like, okay, no one's still getting caught for stealing liquor like this. Like,
just like a red flag that you just kind of zoom.
Yeah, or it's not that serious. Yeah. Like, go to sleep. Yeah. There's no reason. You're already drunk. Why do you need more alcohol? Yeah. Just go to sleep like a normal person. We need more.
Yeah, you start feeling good. You want to feel better, right?
I feel great.
That's what happened with me the night I got my DUI. Like, I had planned to just have 1 or 2 beers, start feeling good. Next thing you know, I'm blowing a .247.
Yeah.
Rolling a car, like, keep driving. By the grace of God, I'm still alive. Didn't hurt anybody else or myself. Walked away unscratched. Like, I don't know how that happens.
For real.
We do know today.
Yeah.
All glory to God, but...
He had her hand on you.
Yeah. And I know he used, like, a lady took my keys, and, I know he worked through that lady to, like, she saved my life, and I know that, like, he used her, you know what I mean? Like, he worked through her, and, like, there's no reason that there's so many instances like that, like, that I shouldn't have woke up, you know what I mean? And even kind of like what you were saying with, like, the stealing liquor and stuff, like, it's not that serious. Like, I got caught taking my parents' booze tons of times, and I'm like, it's not that serious. Like, I just want to, like, I'm a teenager, like, it's, you know what I mean? But that was where alcohol and the drugs were just kind of like my solution. The problem was up here. My thinking was that's where it all started to switch. And my brain switched to, like you said, like, I started to feel sorry for myself. And, but yeah, could you tell me a little bit more about, like, when you said you went to that one semester?
Yes, college.
College? And what did you take in college?
It was supposed to be for, kinesiology. I did not go to class at all. I went there and moved there. I was dorming with some friends, and all I did was smoke weed.
And where is this located?
Northridge, yeah. Cal State Northridge. It's in the valley. California? It's still California, yeah. It's maybe 20 more minutes from here.
Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't. I blamed it on, it was hot out there, and my college courses that I picked were too spread apart as far as the classes. So one would be at 8 a.m., then I'd have a 6 p.m. class. And I just didn't go. So all I did was just party, and then that was short-lived, and I left after a semester. I went back home and moved back in with my mom. Went to PCC, went to three different community colleges, all the same result, 1 semester, I'm out.
Did you flunk out, or?
Yeah, I flunked out. I stopped going. I never completed. I think I completed maybe like 2 or 3 classes. I just chose to party. That's all I wanted to do.
And so what age is this at?
19, probably 19 to 23
Okay.
is when I was in and out of JC, junior college.
Okay. Uh, we could fast forward a little bit to like when did you like fully start to realize, like my relationship with drugs and alcohol is like not normal.
When I started doing cocaine,
Could you like
that
tell us a little bit about that?
that was a wild time. Yeah, so I started working in the restaurant industry,
Okay.
and we
And what
were
age? What age did you start there?
21 is when I got
21.
my first job in the restaurant industry. It was fun. I'm not gonna lie, it was fun, and it was right there in Old Town Pasadena. There's a bunch of bars and restaurants around, and in the restaurant industry, everyone kind of knows each other. As far as, oh, I know this is an industry bar. All the people that work at this restaurant go here, and it was only open at night, so it would open from 5 to 10. So meaning, right, you could work the night shift, party till the sun comes up, pass out, and make it by your night shift.
Yeah.
And that was when I kind of got introduced to that party lifestyle. You haven't partied in like an industry, I feel like, until you party in the restaurant industry. Everyone is an alcoholic or a drug addict in some form. And if you're not, like, hey, all power to you.
Yeah. Like, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Like,
Yeah, man. I mean, just stories like I would walk in on the kitchen workers like taking bumps of meth, just because they gotta, and that's why they're always so fast. Like, I would, we'd have a keg in there and we have boxed wine, and we would pour the boxed wine for a cooking basis. This restaurant was melting pot because the guests would cook their food right at the table, and we would give them the bouillon, teach them how to cook, but we would just get drunk on boxed wine. We would also have Bacardi 151 for flambe to flambe the dessert. You pour a little bit in a shot glass, you pour a little bit on the dessert, you light it up, but then you leave a little bit extra for yourself when you go back where there's no cameras, and you take that. And then towards the end of the shift, right, you're kind of smashed, so
nobody knows. Like,
it was kind of accepted, just do your job.
yeah, as long as you're not causing a problem.
As long as you're not causing problems. And then to mellow out, what you do, you do a little bumps. You go in the bathroom, you do some bumps. As long as you're making money and the guests are happy, then that's fine. The managers, I feel like they did know, but they just, as long as the owner didn't know, but she was never there. But the managers, everyone kind of knew, and it's kind of accepted thing. Just don't smell like alcohol. Don't be slurring your words. Don't be too crazy. Just keep it going.
Yeah. And how long did that last for?
I was in the restaurant, let's see, from 21 up until on and off 27, straight through. So 5 years, and
So
that was
you juggled for almost 5 years.
5 years existing, bro. Just drinking, and I never had money to my name until as soon as I made a shift. Whatever money I made, that would go towards drugs and alcohol, and then I would need just enough money to hop on the bus to get to my shift to make more money, just to do it again. I never had any kind of financial
no
literacy.
relationship, like no, like with a woman, like no woman in your
I
life.
did
or-
when I started dating a bartender when I was 23, I think. That's how, and when I knew I was just crazy, because so actually I had my son when I was 23. I met a girl when I was 21, and we had our child. That was more kind of like a summer fling kind of thing. And I was a piece of shit father. Sorry, my bad. But I was a piece of crap father. I was in and out of his life. I chose alcohol and drugs over him. That's if you really want to know like the core of it, if you know someone has a problem. But in my mind, right, am I drug alcohol induced mind? No, dude, because she chose to have the baby, right? This baby is messing up my life. Woe is Jordan. It's just a really weak, sorry excuse of a man and a victim mentality to kind of to look at. And that was it. So I just kind of felt sorry for myself. And if I were to see my son like once every 2 weeks, I'd be like, oh, I'm doing my part. You ain't doing nothing. Because I remember at the very first, as soon as we brought him home from the hospital, one of my coworkers hit me up, and I went out and pulled the all-nighter. And I remember her saying, why don't you spend time with your son? And then looking back on it, it's like, you can't go back in time, right? I could just make sure that I'd be a better human and be a better father moving forward. But just to look back on it, like, damn, yeah, you really chose alcohol and cocaine over your kid.
Yeah, and I feel like I can relate with that. Like, I chose alcohol, gambling, and drugs over literally everything in my life. It was the priority, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of times we're blinded by it and we don't realize that what we're doing, like you said, like when she said that, like, why don't you go spend time with your son? Like, in your alcohol and drug induced mind, like, you didn't quite get it yet, right? And like, how long after that was it that you got sober?
33.
Oh, so
So
it kept going for a
it
couple
kept
more
going for
years.
years, bro. It kept going for a long time.
A little bit about that.
I just have a kid, right? Failed relationships, fighting, just, the main thing was when I was in a 6-year relationship, and she told me, she's like, you're going to end up alone, and you're nothing but, you're going to be wasted potential. She's like, you're very smart and you're intelligent, but you're not going to get your crap together, and you're just going to end up an old grumpy man. And that one is like, and I actually saw her maybe a couple weeks ago at a baby shower. And I told her, hey, look, you probably don't remember this, but like, thank you for telling me that, because that sticks with me. And that helps me stay sober. I needed that, because it wasn't until 33, October 20, I forget, 2023 was when I first got sober. Finally, I walked into AA. I traveled the world, bro. I went to Medellin. I did cocaine in Pablo Escobar's mansion. Did was Oktoberfest in Munich. I traveled to the south of France. I've done all this stuff, but it doesn't mean anything if like all I was doing was just running from my problems and running from handling what I needed to handle. And it was a great time, don't get me wrong, great memories, but it was empty. After all that, right, I was like, if I could do all this is what people wish they could do. And it's still not enough. And that's when I was like, I'm done, and I got into AA.
Had anybody, suggested that you got sober, like get sober before this?
Oh yeah, all the time.
You had heard of AA before?
So when you get your DUI, right, you have to go to AA. I don't remember, they force you to take classes, court ordered.
Okay.
But I don't really remember those. It was a long time ago. But it's funny because my first sponsor, there's a Barney's Beanery, which is a bar, and that's where I would go. That's my go-to bar to get drunk, because they knew me, so they would take care of me there. And he was one of my bartenders, and we'd chop it up, and he was sober. So I went from getting drunk and ordering drinks for him. I told him, hey, bro, like, you don't need meetings. He sent me to this meeting, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to sponsor you. So he went from serving me drinks to being my first sponsor. That's crazy, bro. That fool's been like 9-10 years sober.
That's crazy. So like the whole time, like he was serving you drinks and stuff, he was sober?
Yeah, and we would talk about it. He would, just mention it, because I would be like, hey, we would create a closer friendship over the years, and he would open up to me about it, and bro, for like years, I'm telling you, I was just like, I need to get sober, like, yeah, I have a problem.
Like in the back of your mind, like
no, in the front of my mind,
and but you couldn't. Like that was like me with gambling, bro. Like I fully knew that like if I kept doing what I was doing, I was gonna be on the road with a sign saying, "Someone help me."
Yeah.
Like I knew that, but I couldn't stop, and I didn't know why. I needed like help, and like AA, GA, rehab, like that stuff saved my life.
Absolutely.
And like the connection and like all these like things, like and like most importantly, like my relationship with God, like. That is the only thing that will fill that void that we're trying to fill with all these worldly things, right? Mm-hmm. And like we can talk more about it after. Sorry.
So he was my sponsor.
And this was at 33.
This was at 33. 33 is when I got sober, and I was sober for 15 months. And I mean, when I got to like 2 weeks of sobriety, I was like, this is the longest I've been sober since I was 17. So I got to 2, and then I got above and this is why I like it. I know people, they don't like it because why do we always have to say that we're an alcoholic and identify as alcoholic? And I get that. Yeah. But for me personally, I got away from the program and I stopped identifying as an alcoholic, and I thought I was fixed. I thought I was healed. And so after 15 months, I relapsed. And it was when they
tell me a little bit like what that looked like. Like, was it just like one day you're just like, like I don't need these meetings anymore, or?
Yeah, it was. I got lazy. I got complacent. I didn't want to do the work anymore.
Like you knew what to do and you didn't need to go there anymore.
Yeah, I thought I knew enough about my alcoholism that I could control it now. And I stopped going to meetings maybe a year into it, but it wasn't for another 3 months when I relapsed. But the relapse happened when I stopped doing the work.
Yeah, the mental.
Because I was just out with a homie, and there was 2 girls there, And it was just a little two-man, you know, we're right there in downtown LA. And then it was like 2 a.m. or I went the whole night without taking a drink. And then finally I was about to go home. And then I was just like, you know what, give me a shot. And then took a shot, and then that was a Friday night, that turned into a Monday morning binge. I ended up in some motel somewhere, I don't know. And then stopped drinking, stopped partying for about 2 months. But then I was like, you know what, Coachella's coming up. It's my birthday. I deserve this. So then I told myself, if I'm going to commit to this relapse, if I relapse, I don't want to start all over with day one. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to really, really do this. And then that's
make
when
it worth it.
Make
like
it worth it.
You knew that you were gonna get sober again. You just wanted to get your money's worth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, let me just do this.
Like if I just threw 15 months away, I might as well go to Coachella.
Right? That's my mindset, right? That's that alcoholic addiction mindset.
Honestly, like now that you're sober, you realize that it just drove you further into the ground, right?
It didn't, but I needed to do it. I needed to do it so I could have a benchmark on, you do not have this under control. You do not know it all. Your ego and your pride are getting in the way. And it was about a 3-4 month summer long binge. And I was starting to.
So like this, like you going on this like weekend binge and then thinking, all right, I might as well go to Coachella. Like that turned into 4 months.
Yeah. So the weekend long binge happened a week before the Super Bowl. So it was in February. And then I didn't drink at all, or for 2.5 months until April 20th or whatever was when I was like, I'm going to do it. I put my mind to something. That's when I deserve it. And that turned into, until I think was my July 26th, 23rd. So from April until July is when I went on my last binge. And that was pretty crazy.
Do you want to share a little bit about that, or?
Yeah, so I was resorting back to using people. I was dating girls, and I was just being a complete dick to them. I was very selfish, and the main difference was I now had more money in my pocket, and that was dangerous. More drugs, more parties.
And are you still working in the restaurant industry or no?
No, I'm a self-employed. I'm a tax accountant now.
Okay.
So I've been doing that since I was 27.
Did you go back to school or?
No, I just, one of the homies, thankful for him, man. He's part owner of the office, and he gave me an opportunity.
Awesome. Man.
So he gave me that.
Are you still working there today?
I'm still, today.
Nice.
So that's good. That's really good.
So that 4-month binge, and then, like, how did that end? Like, how did that?
It ended like maybe a couple weeks before that. Again, I started because at this point in my party lifestyle, I don't do drinking without cocaine. It's right. It's there. So one weekend, bro, it was like, I started Friday. It was Sunday, and I ingested too much, and all of a sudden I just felt my heart like start beating real fast. I started sweating, and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, wow, is this it? Is this how I'm gonna go? And then, fortunately, it stops. I'm fine. But then I'm like, okay, that was a scare. Did it stop me though? Of course not.
No.
I'm fine. So then maybe 2 weeks after that is I had another weekend, and then I was like, you know what? This is it. I'm done. I can't do this no more. It's not fun anymore. I almost wiped out my bank account. I went to and I had a pretty penny in there. And I was like, yeah, no. And that's when I made my first TikTok video about, you know what, guys, I'm making a lifestyle change, and I'm taking you on this journey to hold myself accountable.
Yeah, and like, what was the date?
July 3rd, I think, or 27th. So I'm on like 5.5 months sober right now.
Nice, man. Awesome. So that, do you want to tell me like a little bit about like like what did a day in like your rock bottom like look like? Like what was it like an average like wake up? Were you like straight to the cocaine, or was it like?
So a lot of rock bottom. I've had multiple rock bottoms.
But like
right?
this last time.
This last one was, I started to realize I was hurting those around me. I was not a good son to my mom. I was distancing myself from my son again. I was not going to his baseball games because I was hungover or drunk. I was almost down to my last penny, and I was just straight depressed. Then the party, right? You drink, you party, and then you wake up the next morning, and then you're like, okay, the little depression kicks in. Yeah. But then now it was getting to the point where as soon as I would take a shot, whatever, I'd be like, what am I doing? So the depression was just instant. I was like, I'm about to lose everything that I worked hard for. I think that's what it was. I was like, I'm about to lose. I'm about to become that guy again.
And where was like, what was your relationship with God like at this time?
I got back in the church about 2023
Before you got sober then?
before I got sober. And my relationship, I was back into the church. It was crazy, right? But then I don't know what happened. You know, they say the closer you get to God, the more of a spiritual warfare is going to happen. I went to a man camp with my church in, I think, May of this past summer. And I've never felt no closer, no more alive to God ever, right? And then I came back, and then it was like, I wanted to go back to that man camp. And instead of kind of engulfing myself back with the community, with the men and the church, I just kind of took a step back. And that's when I kind of always loved God, right? I always believed in him, but that's when I just kind of took him for granted again. But like I said, I got back in the church in 2023, and that's when I started to seek my own relationship to him, with him. Because before I don't think I really had my own.
Yeah, and could you tell us a little bit about like what that looks like today?
Today, I never thought that like when you pray and you read his word, he really will give you discernment and wisdom,
And he will speak to you.
and he will speak to you. Before I thought it was like, oh, I'm gonna hear this voice in my head, Maybe it's other people, right? But for me, it's clarity. It's I understand what I need to do now. I've never ran to God more in my life in this past couple of months because I know that if I don't run to him, I'll run to other things. And that's not what I should be doing. That's not good for me, and that's not what a Christian man should be doing.
Yeah, and then like we also like we can just take a look back at like our pasts and we can like see where running to these other things led us, right? Like when I put my hand up and I say like no, I'm okay, God, like I got this. Like I go down this like lonely dark path and it's like I always end up crawling back to God, and it's like I'm just thankful that we have like a loving, forgiving God, and like He takes us at our even when we're like broken and like rejecting Him. Like you said, like I kind of had the same or a similar experience to you. Like I recently was reconnected with a friend who's very strong in his faith, and like that's when I started to take Christianity seriously. And like I asked him all these questions, right? Because I grew up Catholic, so I didn't understand even the difference between Catholicism and Christianity. Like I didn't understand, and all I knew was that like if I die right now, like based off Catholicism, I'm going to hell for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I love God and I'm sorry for my sins and like I regret those things and I know I did wrong and like I'm sorry for them and I've made my amends and like I'm still gonna go to hell because I haven't made it to go do confession in like a couple of years at the church. Like Catholicism's like you got to go kneel in front of the priest, tell him all your sins, and then he tells you what you have to do to repent. He gives you the judgment of like, okay, I think that you should have to say this many Hail Marys, and like, like he was the judge, like judging you, and I was like, but that's not what Christianity says, right?
Mm-mm.
And like when I finally started to like desire this relationship for God for myself, things changed a lot. And like you said, I finally, for the first time in my life, like I had heard all the stories growing up, like in the Catholic Church and stuff, like about like I've heard the stories in the Bible, and I went to a Catholic school, so like we had religion classes and like we had to read the Bible, and I just like after I finally struggled enough and like I desired this relationship with God for myself, and I opened the Word willingly, and I, like you said, if we're in his word, it will speak to us. He will give you wisdom. You surround yourself by other Christians, other people that are strong in their faith. Like he will work through those people. And like I don't know, like do you want to tell me a little bit more about like what it looked like for you? Because for me it was like community was like the biggest thing. Like I needed to find a church. Like I started going to Maple City Baptist Church in where I'm in my hometown, and going to tons of like young adult groups, like men's groups, Bible studies, stuff like that. And then also like AA, GA meetings, being surrounded by alcoholics, addicts. I think community is like the one thing and connection that keeps me sober today. Like for you, like what do you think that is for you? Like what's the one thing that kind of keeps you, like I know you said like what that lady said to you was, I think it was your ex,
Max, yeah, yeah.
what she said to you that kind of
Uh-huh.
stuck with you and helps you to stay sober. But if there's like, if there's one thing that like really keeps you sober, like what would you say that is?
My submission to God,
Yeah.
100%. Because if that doesn't happen, like AA says, right? Every morning we pray and ask God to give us strength because we are powerless over alcohol and drugs, right? When I started to seek my own relationship with God and really dive into His Word and seek Him, I realized that there's happiness, right? Things make us happy, but true kind of Christianity, I think, when you have a relationship with Him, is finding joy in the pain, joy in the suffering, joy in the storms. My dad, he got diagnosed with cancer in October this year. And this was like the first, thank you. This was like the first kind of hit when I was sober on how I'm going to handle it without drugs and alcohol. But for whatever reason, I was able to have joy in the storm. And I knew that everything was going to play out how God wants it to play and God's will. And I was okay with it. I honestly had no urge to drink or to do drugs. I just knew that in order for me to be there for my father and my family, I need to be sober. And that is one thing that I've kind of found in this life. No matter what happens, man, I truly, truly love this life. I went from a very pessimistic, negative person, and I did not want to live, and I wanted to die. And I was living my life like if something happens to me, I'm okay with that, please. But now I love every minute of this life, and I really, really, truly have found joy.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy to hear that. I think the last question, like to kind of wrap things up, I think we're running low on time, but to kind of start wrapping things up, I kind of want to, if you were to leave something with somebody that's like maybe in the same shoes that you were in, sorry, so I'm waiting for these sirens to stop.
LA.
If there's somebody out there that's like struggling, that was kind of in your shoes before you made that decision, if there's one thing you could say to like encourage them, what would it be? Because I know not a lot of people, like if someone were to tell me when I was at my lowest, like, just give your life to God, like, and it'll get better. Like I wouldn't have believed you for a second, right? Like, but if there's one thing that you want to leave with them for someone that's like struggling, what do you think that would be?
Like to get sober?
Yeah, to kind of like turn their life around, to give them hope.
You need to forgive yourself and don't worry about that shame that you carry. And that's okay. Because a lot of people, right, you feel like, you know what, I don't deserve love, but you do deserve love. You do deserve happiness. No matter what you've done in this life, it's okay. God will forgive you. Exactly. And you deserve to live a joyous life without the pain and without the trauma. I think that's the biggest thing is you need to forgive yourself.
And for me, like, I love that you said that because that like hits it right on the nail, man. For me, that's like, I still struggle with it today, but it's like, it's been getting better. It's like, we need to forgive ourselves because like God forgives us. A lot of times if we've followed the steps and we've made our amends and we've like, usually 9 times out of 10, the other people forgive us. Mm-hmm. So like, we're forgiven by the person we wronged. We're forgiven by our creator. And like, why can't we forgive ourselves, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're the only ones standing in our way from changing and like building a better life for ourselves. Like, I love that you said that because like I still struggle with that today. And I don't know, is there anything else you want to kind of leave them with, or?
I'm just kind of like, if anyone's watching this and thinks that there is no light at the end of the tunnel, right? And that this is it. If you're still stuck in your alcoholism or your drug addiction, and that you think maybe changing your life and living a happy life is a facade and is a pipe dream and is something you only see in the movies, I think you're just looking at 2 people right here that show you otherwise. Yeah. That, trust me, when you're in your darkest of moments and you think that there is no light at the end of the tunnel, trust me, there is. And the answer is Jesus and getting sober. Your problems don't go away. Trust me, they don't. But at least you're able to handle them, and you're able to handle life's obstacles.
That's that's exactly how I described it to somebody. Like when I started to accept God, like that's how I felt. I felt like, no, my anxiety wasn't like wiped away, but it felt manageable. Like, because before I accepted God like into my life and pursued a relationship with Him, like my anxiety was crippling, man. Like I felt like my life was crashing down, and I was sober, and like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But like, and I really, like, one other thing I wanted to share on, like, I can really relate to what you said about, like, um, the part where you said, uh, seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's important to know that, like, I don't know, I feel like for the first time ever, like when you said that your dad was diagnosed for cancer and you didn't feel the urge to drink or drug, or like you felt okay in that moment because you had God, right? And like I'm going through something right now with like a back injury, and like I'm not able to work, and like I'm just, there's a lot of uncertainty where like old me would be like having an anxiety attack like every 5 minutes because I don't know what I'm like gonna do for work, or like I might have to change careers, or like, you know what I mean? But for the first time ever, like I know that like God has a plan for me, and
Yep.
that like I'll be okay,
Mm-hmm.
and like His will is like, it's already written, right? There's no, it's like I know that I have Him on my side, so like I'm finally seeing this light at the end of the tunnel that maybe not everybody around me is seeing, but that's okay, right?
Yeah.
And we just gotta have faith and give it all to Him, because the second I tried to take things back into my hands, like I like almost like I almost died quite a few times.
Yeah, we drive the car off the cliff.
Yeah, and like I know where alcohol and drugs will lead me today. Like if I pick up a drink, it's only a very short amount of time before I'm either in a coffin or a jail cell.
Mm-hmm.
And if I place a bet right now, like, and especially if I win the bet, like there's an even better chance I'll be homeless by next month. That's just the, like I know that about myself, and like I don't know, I've proved it time and time again. I just want to thank you for coming on, brother. Like like I'm pretty happy with this. Is there anything else you wanna share, or?
No, man, that was good stuff, bro. I appreciate
Sweet,
you,
bro.
bro. And I thank you for doing this.
Of
You're
course,
doing
man.
something to help bring awareness to people.
Of course.
And this is my first time doing this, but yeah, it was
Yeah,
good
of course,
stuff.
dude.
Man.
Hopefully we'll have you back on soon. Thank you everybody for tuning into this episode. Use code NewGen10 at soberstrong.com for 10% off. Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook or any of those platforms if you're interested in some merch. But without further ado, I'll see you guys next time.
Take care, you guys.
That was sick.
Yeah, that was good, man. That was fun.